Hello and welcome to CAA Today. Real late here on this week zero podcast that we're trying to get out. Got super busy and here we are. I'm going to start right off, do a little coach rundown after the off season. I had a decent bit of coaches leave out, retire, or go pursue different coaching opportunities. So first up on this list, we've got Delaware. Replacing Larry comes in new coach Was Up. He came from, I believe, Albany, and before that was at, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere down in the ASUN or Big Sky. Uh, but yeah, Was Up Albany, great coach. Next up, we've got Morgan State. We got a guy named Tingle who is replacing Rylan, our UK coach. Unfortunately, we lose our European connection there. VMI remains the same coach. We've got DePoop Eater there still. Duquesne also retaining the same coach in Val. Richmond was Zand. That is in the fray now, and Zand has retired. Towson keeping the Aussie flair here with Mr. D. James Madison had a coach move, myself moved to offensive coordinator, brought in a formerly retired coach in Canner as my defensive coordinator. Robert Morris, still Howie, who replaced Lily last season, who replaced Depp last season. So Robert Morris has been on a couple of switches here. William and Mary, we got a coach from the FBS and Matt 17, who is replacing Bobo. Youngstown State, new coach is Yugoslavia, replacing Snoop there. We got Delaware State and Villanova, still Matt and Edge, still your conference commissioners. Moving right along here, as we get through this quick little preseason CAA Today episode. We've got our contender and pretender. Ed, you want to start us off here? You wrote a lot more than I did, so I'll let you have it.
Yeah, so just for my contender, I know it's an obvious choice, but I'm gonna go with New Hampshire. And really, it's even cheating because our game already finished. But I mean, it's clearly one of the best teams in the FCS, and they that was definitely the hardest game I've ever played in FCFB so far. Just the toughest to get any yards at, and I think UNH is going to be a team to be reckoned with this season.
All right, and then my contender was. Let me scroll up here. My contender is Elon. Elon's got a great coach in Ryan. They ended last year on a bit of a slide. They were way down there in Team Elo and just had a rough go of things in the Carolina Football Conference. I think Elon responds, starts this season off strong, hopefully ends in a postseason tournament, whether it is the NIT or the playoffs. I think Ryan can recapture the glory that he had a couple seasons ago. I believe he made the first initial NIT and was the champion of that one. And so we'll see what Elon can do in the CFC this season. And moving on to pretender, Edge, you've got a big take here. So I want to hear you talk through this one.
I know this one's going to sound crazy, um, but you guys just got to hear me out. I'm going with Eastern Washington for my pretender. Obviously, Plaque is the favorite, to win the whole thing coming into this season. I just don't think there's any way that he repeats, a completely undefeated season. I think he's going to take a step back, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't win the national championship. So that's why he's my pretender.
That is the craziest take I've ever heard. I'm gonna go a little bit more conservative. My take. I think Columbia, a team that ended last year, pretty highly ranked, and they were in the talk for the Ivy League Conference Championship game. I don't believe they made it, and I don't believe they made the playoffs. Or if they did make the playoffs, they were an early exit. But I saw that in the Ivy League like conference championship odds, they're pretty high up there, and I don't think that Dirtbag is going to be able to recreate the success that he had. Dirtbag lost to me when I was like my 5-7 season, and while there has been a little bit of improvement, I just don't think that Columbia is going to live up to the hype that they're receiving here in the Ivy. Moving on. After that interesting segment, we're going to throw a week one preview here. I'm just going to call the games like I thought they would turn out. I know some of them are have already finished at this point. But first game, as we have Coach D in the chat, we're gonna go with Towson versus Prairie Valley A&M. And for me, it was Towson all the way. I know Coach D or Mr. D has had a lot on his mind here. That past last season and went on a bit of a slide. But as he gets back to real life, so World gets back to real life, Towson is going to get back to winning ways. I had them winning against Prairie Valley, and I had them winning big. I had the score 35-7.
Yeah, it's gonna be, hard for me to come up with scores now that, like, half these games are already finished. But yeah, I was confident in Towson this whole way. Mr. D, I really expect him to have a big bounce back season, from Zan's, poll that he put out in the conference. I think everyone else does too, so it's not really a surprise to me that Mr. D won there.
Yep. Next up, we've got Georgetown versus Richmond. This game is already over. Georgetown did win 26-20. But before this game, I would have had Richmond winning, and I would have had Richmond winning massively as well. I mean, Richmond is a top six coach in all of FCFB, and seeing them lose was an absolute shock. And so, yeah, probably going to be my upset of the week here as we get into the next podcast. So, a little preview for next week's podcast. This will be probably my pick for upset of the week, unless we see another top team go down here. But I mean, I would have had Richmond probably like 47 or 48 to like 20 or something like that. But obviously, that's not how the way the game turned out.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I would have had Richmond big too.
All right, keep going on. Delaware versus South Dakota. I would have had Delaware here. Was up as a great coach, and Dan picked it up last season. He was very very bad 2 seasons ago. Picked it up majorly last season. I think he ended 6-6 or 7-5. And so huge season from Dan. But it's it's got to be Delaware. Was up is a great coach, and I'm very very excited to have him in the conference here. So yeah, I would have gone Delaware probably. I'm gonna keep it in the 30-40 range here. We're going 31-17 would have been my final pick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say Delaware would be a dark horse in the South, even with Zan still here. Um, but Wazup, like you said, is a great coach, and I fully expect him to be possibly the front runner in the South this season. At this point, with Zan gone, depending on who replaces him at Richmond. So yeah, it's not really all that surprising to me to see him win this Week 1 game.
All right, keep moving along. We've got New Hampshire versus Villanova. This game is over, and it went exactly the way I expected it to. New Hampshire's defense is stifling, especially playing in that America East Conference. They get a lot of easy practice, as that is not the hardest conference to play in. And I would have expected somewhere around 35-14. Uh, as much as I want to pick Nova here, I mean, New Hampshire was, I believe, like a semifinalist last year, and so I would have gone New Hampshire uh, pretty decently sized wing just because of their defense.
Yeah, I mean, we all know at this point I don't like to predict my own games too much, and we'll get into this more on Sunday. But now that it's over, honestly, I'm just proud of how few points I held. I held UNH to. Um, I went in, knowing it would probably be the toughest game on my schedule, and it sucks to start out with a loss again, but I couldn't really have expected to do much better.
Yeah, I mean you're testing yourself this year with your out of conference schedule, so I wouldn't be surprised with a dip in production. That strength of schedule is pretty crazy for Nova. Next up, we've got William and Mary taking on Eastern Kentucky, and I'm going to back the new coach here in this conference, Matt 17. I had William and Mary winning pretty close. My final score prediction would have been somewhere around. I think I was thinking like 38-28, so like a nice little two possession victory here for William and Mary. Final score I believe was 27-17. So yeah, I was right there. We're 10-point victory for William and Mary, and so yeah, solid win.
Yeah, that's probably about where I would have had this to, 1 to 2 possession win for Matt at William and Mary.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we've got Harvard taking on Delaware State, and I don't know Harvard, but what I do know about Delaware State is the offense does not stop with this team. I have them going for over 600 yards an absolute beatdown, 21-49.
Yeah, that Delaware State offense is just always going, and I think we all expected at this point. I would have expected this one to maybe even be a bit more of a shootout than it was. But yeah, I would have taken Delaware State, maybe pretty close.
Right, next up, we've got Duquesne versus Stetson, and this is an interesting one. Duquesne did not have the best of seasons these past 2 years, but Val's a good coach, and she knows what she's doing here, especially against Stetson. I believe she won the matchup last year, or it was close, and I believe 2 years ago she did lose a very, very close game against Stetson. So yeah, a interesting matchup here. I have Duquesne just barely beating Stetson, in a close, tight matchup. I have them 31-28. It could very well much be closer than that, and I wouldn't be surprised if Stetson pulled one out or if Duquesne won. This is truly just a 50-50 game.
Yeah, I feel like you never really know what to expect from this game specifically, but really even both of these coaches, um, they've both had their ups and downs, especially last season. Um, but yeah, I probably would have taken Stetson close in this one this season. But I'd obviously be really happy if Val pulls this one out and gets another win for the conference.
It can go wrong with a conference win. Next up, we've got Morgan State taking on Missouri State. I'm picking Morgan State here. New coaches are always fun. And Missouri State, I don't know too much about, so I'm just going to back the conference player here. Give me Morgan State.
Yeah, same. Like you said, I'm not too sure on Missouri State. I don't really know much about them, but yeah, I would have taken Morgan State here.
That's fair. Next up, we've got Robert Morris taking on Portland State. I am going to say Portland State wins this one. Robert Morris, how he's been through through it here. Robert Morris, I believe he lost like five straight at the end of last season, or it was like he lost four out of the last five, and I just don't see it picking back up. I know Portland State's pretty decent playing in the Big Sky, and so yeah, give me Portland State all the way.
Uh, Honestly, I wouldn't have known what to tell you coming into this game. Just looking at the score now, it does kind of look like Portland State's starting to run away with it a bit. Um, Again, like I wouldn't really have known much going into this matchup, so I probably would have just stuck in conference and picked Robert Morris, but I'm not really too sure.
All right, next up we've got VMI, best head coach name in the FBS and FCS. Sorry, in the FCS, taking on a new UNI, which is something that we haven't seen in a while. After leaves, we see Jakester come in and take over UNI from Murray State. And this one's a toss up, really. This is a two tested coaches who have been in the FCFB for a while. And I think that VMI is going to pull this one out here on the last drive, the way he did it in season three when he had that amazing run to the conference title. So give me VMI. I think it'll be somewhere like 35-32, like 35-31 here. Just a last second touchdown for VMI.
Yeah, I doubted a lot of last season and the season before, the first season of CAA Today when Bernie kept saying how VMI is going to bounce back eventually. I'm going to pick it up this season. I think VMI is going to have a good season. I think they're going to, keep the South close. I think um, I think the South's just going to be close, but I think they'll keep it close specifically. Yeah, I would have went VMI here to take this one pretty close though.
Good looks. Next up, we got James Madison against Valpo. Um, it's different for me. Not calling defensive plays, but I mean, offense has been going well actually, and I'm not gonna call this game because I'm playing in it right now and I'm doing well, but I'm just gonna stray away from it. I'll let Edge take it from here.
Um, I mean, it's definitely hard to know what you'd be getting into with the coordinator situation there. Um, Again, JMU is a team I expect to to keep the South race interesting, especially with Zand out of the conference now. Um, Valpo's Cooper's a good coach. He hasn't put it all together and made a good playoff run yet, but he's a good coach. But I think just the wild card of the coordinators, I would have taken James Madison by 2 or 3 scores here.
All right. Next up, and the final game of the week, we got Elkhorn taking on Youngstown State. And people don't know much about Yugoslavia because I believe he was an FCS coach, or he was like he's been kind of inactive in our like chats, but I mean he's playing the game and he's played it very very well in the past, and so I'm taking Yugoslavia here, pretty big. I'd say probably a three score win against Alcorn, who I do not know much about.
Yeah, I know. Zand kept saying about how Youngstown State was probably the scariest game on his schedule, and to hear that coming from a coach like Zand, that says a lot to me. So I expect, I don't want to assume that I'm going to be in the North Division race again this season, but if I am, I expect it to be a close one with Youngstown State. I would have taken them winning pretty big here.
All right, moving on, we got the odds makers talk as usual. I'm going to skip game one because that is New Hampshire versus Villanova, which you already know the results to. I don't know the results to game two, so I'm going to say it's Kennesaw State against Davidson. Davidson's minus 1.5 points on the spread. I would have taken Kennesaw to cover the spread here. Uh, Judge is a very good coach, and I know Seek put together a pretty good season last year with Delaware. With Davidson. They were 8-0, I believe, or 7-0 until week 9 when VMI actually upset them in like the last out of conference week. And so I would have gone Kennesaw State, probably taken the under here, as I would have expected a defensive matchup between these two top tier coaches.
Oh, crap. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just trying to find the odds maker stuff real quick. Um, but yeah, I probably would have taken Kennesaw State in this one. I think I did actually. Um, Judge is a has been a really good coach for a long time, so I have no problem backing him.
All right, next game we've got here, game three. We got Brown at Sacred Heart. Brown is favored by 1 point on the spread. Over under is 59 points. And I'm taking Brown here to cover, and I'm taking the over. Uh, I think this will turn into a pretty offensive game here. Both the coaches loving their memes, Naki and Josh, both on the meme side of things and meme side of coaches. So I believe there will be touchdowns scored in this game, and I think there's going to be plenty of touchdowns scored in this game. So I'd go over, and I think Brown's going to pull this one out.
Yeah, I gotta. Um, if I get the chance to do it, I'm always gonna take it to bet with my you know average gang turned playoff gang guy in Josh. I would have taken him to win that.
Next game here, Fordham taking on Yale. I don't know much about Fordham, but I do know a lot about Yale, and I know Yale's a pretty good coach, and so I'm taking Yale to cover the spread here. Over under is listed at 60. I just say under because I think Yale's gonna put together a good performance here on offense and defense.
Yeah, I agree there. I would take the 1.5 point for Yale and under. I just expect them to pretty much control the game.
All right, and next up, game five here. Southeast Missouri taking on Incarnate Word. Incarnate Word a 5 point favorite here, but with with Moofish as your coach, it's always going to be a toss up. I think Moofish really did pick it up towards the end of last season, and I think he's going to keep riding that here to a big win. And so I'm taking Incarnate Word to cover. I think they win by a touchdown or more, and I'm taking the over. I know with Incarnate Word, it's always the over. You can't pick the under against Incarnate Word.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. I think Bluefish is he's gonna have a great season, and I think all of his games are gonna end up with a lot of points. It's definitely not hard to take the over in one of those games.
All right, and then game six here, CAA matchup between Stetson and Duquesne. I would have picked an interesting one here. I would have picked Duquesne to win, but I would have picked Stetson to cover the spread. And so I think I think Duquesne wins by a single point here. Something like, I don't know, 20-21 or 22-21. Just one risky play turning out uh, the game winner there. And I would have taken the under. Both these coaches love their defense, and so I think Val wins this one, but I don't think she wins by much. I think Stetson can cover here with that 1.5 point spread.
Yeah, I would have. I think I would have gone the other way. I think I would have probably had Stetson coming out on top there. It would have been definitely close. I don't know if I would have taken the 1.5 point spread. Um, and I probably would have gone over. Maybe it's just personal experience, but every game I've played against Duquesne, all two of them has been crazy high scoring and a really, really exciting game. So maybe that's just like personal bias there, but I definitely take the over on that.
All right. Moving on, we've got a nice little coaches poll here that was put together by 8 coaches of the CAA. Going through predictions of this season, and obviously things will change here. We got Richmond leaving the conference, or Zen leaving the conference. Sorry, as the coach of Richmond. But so I'll let Edge take the CAA North here if you want to read out these predictions and point totals.
Yeah, so for the CA North, we had myself, Villanova as the favorite. I got 72 votes, six first place votes. And you got Youngstown State, Yugoslavia in second, which I definitely understand. That's a good pick there, fit with 56 votes. Towson in third with 44 votes and one first place vote. Then Robert Morris with 30 votes, one first place. Duquesne with 22 votes, and then Morgan State bringing it up at the bottom of the conference with 16.
All right, CAA South here. Richmond with a clean sweep, 80 points, all 8 first place votes. James Madison comes in second with 52 points. Delaware in third with 40. Delaware State with 28. William and Mary has 22, and VMI with 18. Best offense, 4 votes for Delaware State, 2 votes for Richmond. Best defense, 3 votes for Richmond, 2 votes for Nova. And best special teams, all 3 votes go to Richmond there. Best newcomer, Canner, my defensive coordinator, earns 3 votes. Yugoslavia, Youngstown State coach, gets 2. Was up, I believe, also had 2, or he had 1. So it's either one of those two. And then most likely to improve, Towson earns all 5 votes in that category. Battle for Appomattox winner. 6 out of the 8 coaches think that the South will prevail. And the champion, we've got 5 votes for Richmond and 2 votes for Villanova.
That that battle for Appomattox winner vote, that's I definitely think that gets a wrench thrown into things with Zan leaving. I definitely think that could, yeah, I think you almost expect him to win all three of those games, and
Right.
I think him leaving that definitely kind of tips the scales back more towards even.
Yeah, that was a huge loss for the CAA South, especially in that CAA South versus North matchup. But I do think the South has remained uh, just the better team overall. Obviously, Yugoslavia coming to the North was a big addition, but I mean, you look at the teams that the South, or the coaches that the South got. We got a playoff coach in Was Up. We've got Matt 17 coming down from the FCS or FBS, I believe, and then we've got another coach in, who was it? Or I guess we'll have a new coach in Richmond. We'll see how they do. The other two, myself and Matt and VMI, all remain the same. And so we'll see how this one plays out. This will be an interesting year here. Uh, Overall, the CAA North had won the first one. CAA South came back and won the battle for Appomattox last year. So here's the third time ever doing this. We'll see how each team plays. And I think it's pretty interesting. I don't know who people would have thought would have been third because there's obviously 2 teams in the championship game. But with Zen going, I believe that champion vote would be changed as well. I think Villanova gets of a solid 5 or 6, and I think it'd be either myself or was up with the last couple of straggling votes to pull off an upset in that championship game. All right, finally moving on. We've only got a few listener questions here. I don't know if you guys want to drop a couple more in the chat here. And so first one here, oh gosh, oh man, Edge. I'm the first question is if given the choice to between drinking pee and drinking cum, which one would you drink? The easy answer is pee. God, Dan, why'd you ask this?
Yeah, I can't argue with you there, and I'm not gonna go too in depth with that one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna keep going through it. Um, I don't have like anything, so we'll go with a classic question here. Rank the conferences from best to worst. I think there's a couple shakeups here because I mean, Big Sky Asun lost a huge couple pieces, and there were a couple big additions in the other conferences. So I'm going to start here. I think MVC one, Colonial two. I think that the Missouri Valley Conference got a huge addition and a coach yet to be named, as well as the Colonial making solid additions. I think third is Ivy. Fourth, I'm going to go ASUN. Fifth, Big Sky. Sixth, I'm going with the CFC. Seventh is the Delta. Eighth, I've got Southland. Actually, I'm gonna put Southland at the sixth and bump the other two down. I forgot about the Southland there. Um, Nine, I'm going America East, and then 10, I'm gonna go Mac. I just don't. I know every time I've done this, I've always put it's always Mac at the bottom, but I just don't see them getting any better. And so yeah, those are the 10 that I've ranked.
Yeah, I think the MAC's gonna be at the bottom there until they prove they don't deserve to be. Um, yeah, I mean, mine's not too different from yours. I think the MVC is the pretty clear best conference. I'd probably put the Ivy second, and I guess the Colonial third. We're looking pretty good, at least in week one right now. Um, let's see. I go the Southland fourth, uh, A Sun, then the Big Sky, the Dick, America East, and then the Mac. And I think I got them all. Oh, did I miss the
Yes,
CFC? I put them
yes,
in.
CFC.
I don't know. Put them in there at like eighth.
Yeah, they kind of dropped off. I mean, Davidson is doing all the heavy lifting there, and I think Elon's going to pick it back up this season. But other than that, yeah, they kind of just keep falling. Um, well, we have gotten the okay to name the big name coach here, joining Northern Colorado. So we'll throw it in here at the end as a word for listening to this, because if you are listening to this, former former national champion, uh, former Bethune Cookman coach, probably one of the best minds in FCFB. He released a scouting sheet for all of us to use in public. The accolades just keep going on and on for this man. Uh, Pello has joined back to the FCFB, taking over the Northern Colorado spot. Uh, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, the Missouri Valley just keeps getting better, and it's a huge addition for them. And so, yeah, I mean, I've said all I can about him, but Pelo is a great coach, and it'll be interesting
And I just
to.
feel like it's important to reiterate what Dan was saying here. Don't bug him because he's already said he's not coming back to the server at least anytime soon. He doesn't want to be bothered all that much about all the stuff we bothered him about before. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's good to have such a good coach back though.
right. I did try and bug him for his. When he first retired, he released like a basic scouting sheet for the general public. And about like once a week, I just send in a message. I'd be like, "Hey, can you give me the advanced version of your scouting sheet?" And he goes, "Absolutely not." And I was like, "All right, fair enough." I tried my hardest, but he keeps his ways secretive, and I respect that. And with that, I think we can call it there. It's pretty solid preseason episode here. I don't know any final words for you, Edge, before we call off this episode.
Um, the only thing I got is I actually just got some insider information. I'm not going to confirm nor deny anything. Nothing's final, but just keep an eye out for that Richmond opening sometime soon, possibly.
If there was breaking news on the show, I'd love to hear it. But looks like we will have to wait till next week to introduce the new Richmond coach. And with that, we're going to say peace out. Thanks for watching. If you're still listening to this on YouTube, I don't know what you're doing with your life, but thanks for listening. Thanks for listening in public. You know how it is. We're going to call it there, and peace out.